Hello artists! Today is day one in weaving. We will be using yarn eventually to make your own yarn weaving, but before we do that we're going to make a paper weaving to get used to the process of weaving. So here you see an example of a paper weaving. Before we actually start weaving, I thought we'd have a little fun and use some paint and make the painted paper that the strips of paper are woven through. So it would look something like this. And when I did this piece of paper, I used my knowledge of the color wheel, which I'm going to take out the watercolors you should have. You're going to open them up. And the color wheel has the colors that are made from each other, next to each other on the color wheel. For example, orange, as you should remember, is made from yellow and red. And then green is made from yellow and blue. And then violet or purple is actually made from blue, and then you go back to red. So when I was painting this paper, I was not, painting purple next to yellow, because if I did that where it mixes, it might turn brown. So I used colors that were next to each other. Now, of course, you could use the brown and the black on your painted paper. It's completely up to you. And you could try mixing two colors, like I just said, like purple and yellow, if that's the look you're going for. So what you need to get started is a blank piece of paper. You need a water cup filled with water about halfway. You need your watercolor tray, your brush, and a paper towel. So let's get started. So when I use watercolors, I typically try to get my brush very wet. So I'll go back and forth, add a little bit of water. I'm going to start getting this red really ready to go. So I'm going to dip in water even before I get more paint, because watercolor really needs a lot of water in order for it to work properly. So I'm going to keep doing that. Now, if I want to go into the orange next to it, I'm going to clean my brush really well, and I'm then going to load up the orange with some water. And what I typically like to do, stir that water around, get that paint going, is I overlap the orange over the red, so it doesn't have like a straight line. It kind of blends. Need a lot more water. Okay. And the nice thing about watercolor is the paint, once you apply it, dries pretty quickly. So I'm going to keep going with some orange. A lot of water. Now if I want to go on to yellow, I can. You don't have to follow the rainbow order. I only ended up using, for my example, violet, blue, green, and a little yellow. So I kind of went with these four, and that was it. So it's up to you. So what you're going to want to do is clean your brush again. If I'm going to yellow, make sure I load it with water. Nice amount of water. And I'm going to overlap that on the yellow. Okay, so you would keep going. You're going to take your time and fill up the entire paper with paint. Now, the brush that came with the watercolors is not so big, so it will take you a little longer than typically I'd like to cover the paper, but that's okay. Take your time, enjoy painting. It's very soothing, relaxing. When you're done, you're going to want to set your paper aside and let it dry for a while. So what I did was I actually want to add some more fun things on this paper. Is what I did while I was waiting for the paper to dry, is I took some strips of paper that you should have, these thicker strips, and I'm going to make them into the thin strips that you see we need for the weaving. So what you should then take is a ruler, and if you don't have a ruler, a thin strip of paper. So they're about the same thickness. What you want to do is you take your strips. I'm going to press my ruler down and line it up to the very edge of this purple paper. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go to this edge because I'm a righty. It's probably easier if I go to the opposite side of the paper, right to the edge, press the ruler down, and drag it down. I have a line. You can hardly see it, though, with the pencil. And then I'm going to take the ruler where that pencil line was drawn, line it up there, and press the ruler down and draw a nice straight. So now I have, as you could see, 3 strips that I can cut. So I would do that. You need 9 strips total to weave. So again, I'm going to take my ruler, and if you don't have the ruler, straight edge does the same thing. I'll show you. Straight edge paper. Line that up, press down, get a nice straight line. Then I take this side edge, line it up with my pencil line, and press down, and I have another strip. So you would do that with your papers. Then you're going to take some scissors and start carefully cutting your strips. So you're going to need a total of 9 strips for this weaving. Okay. So that will conclude part 1. Oh, and before I conclude, you need to clean up your space. I would dry off your brush, put it in the tray, wipe off any paint you got on your workspace, put everything away, and we will continue in the next session.